Okay, we're back. Where did you think we would be? It's not so much that we're back, we were always here. That's where we live. This is ThinkTech. We're talking about life in the law here on a given Thursday with the Dean of the William S. Richardson School of Law. That's Wurzel. You've heard it referred
It's better.
to. Good afternoon, Dean.
Thank you. Good to be here, Jay. Again.
Okay, and with him, we have the director of the International LLM program at the William S. Richardson School of Law, and that's Spencer Kimura. Hi, Spencer.
How's it going, Jay?
Thank you for coming down, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Always nice to be here.
So the first thing we should talk about on this special Thursday is what's going on at the law school. News?
We do have news, and we have a lot going on. Some people sometimes think we have too much going on because it really does stretch the staff and the faculty thin. We have so many events and panels and so on, and the students are involved in all kinds of things, moot courts and the law reviews and lots of student organizations. It's a very small law school, but there is a whole lot of activity. But some of the most recent news is there are a couple of rankings that are nice to have. We have a lot of things that don't get quantified and can't be, and we're proudest of those, the way in which people get along with each other, for example. Law students actually like law school, and that was not my experience,
There's something new.
nor yours.
Something very new, yeah.
Right. But they support each other, and they're still getting jobs, and while we are expensive, compared to most law schools, we're not. So our students aren't quite under the burden of debt that a lot of law students are facing. So we had a very large enrollment in the fall in the first-year class, and they have already taken, if not taken over, they've got lots of traction this first-year class. They're really quite something. And I'm co-teaching with Calvin Pang, our co-clinical director course, and I can tell you they're really working hard and doing well. That's a small sample, but I think a representative one. But these rankings, the U.S. News and World Report is the big one that everybody always complains about for good reason, I think. But we went up 18 places, and so we are 82nd overall. We were first in diversity again. So we are the law school that is the most diverse, the most comfortable for people of minorities. Our part-time program is ranked 30th, and our environmental law program 25th. But we have some subsequent rankings. One is about the yield, the number of students who come after they are offered acceptance, and we are in the top 5. No, that's not right. 7.
That's pretty good.
5 and 7.
5, 7,
right.
Yeah.
Right. And we just also heard about getting ranked in a different and impressive way, and that's for practical skills. And that's where we're 5th. We're 7th for yield and 5th for practical skills.
Out of how many schools?
That one was 89, I think.
Oh, the different numbers.
Yeah.
These are different numbers for each one of the rankings.
So practical skills means what our students do a lot of, and that's clinical, and that's pro bono. It's simulated clinic courses, and it is moot court and things like that. And we have for a long time taught practical skills, not thinking everyone's going to be a lawyer. We are really producing leaders, but one of the ways to be a leader is to be able to express yourself and work with words and work with other people. So all those activities really do teach practical skills from the first year on.
Do they stay in Hawaii?
They do. They fall in love with Hawaii for good reason. And they still get jobs. That's the other thing. It's really tough out there.
Jobs are hard these days.
Right, but here they're still getting jobs. They help each other get jobs.
Yeah.
And because we're so small, we get to know them.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference if someone calls me or I call someone and say, hey, this is one you really should take.
Yeah.
And so we do much better than many of our peers in the employment of our students. But even the ones who come here not thinking they want to stay realize that the practice of law is quite civilized in Hawaii compared to other places, partly because we get to know each other. So repeat players tend not to go for the jugular. So you don't really try to smush your opponent into the ground.
Small town.
Yeah,
Right.
And
It goes around, comes around.
It's more pleasant. It's much more pleasant. Yeah.
I've heard you describe, your students before, but I wonder if you could do it now. Putting all the ratings aside now, what are your students like?
Well, I think that they understand when they get in that they have accomplished something, and we treat them like adults. So that's a difference. That's one of the reasons I think they like law school. So they are kind of empowered when they get to us, and a lot of them already have ideas about what it is they want to do, not just in their professions, but what they want to do for the community, or to go back Pacific Islanders and so on. So we have a lot of people, we try to give them skills, of course, but we also try to get out of their way. and to encourage them.
Yes, yes, really important. Because, like it or not, lawyers become the leaders of the community. It's just the way it works.
Yeah, they do shows like this.
In their retirement years. Okay, let's switch to news in the constitutional sense. What's happening in the Supreme Court that they should know about?
Well, this is probably not as dramatic a term as some of the recent Supreme Court terms, but we are going to learn some more about same-sex marriage, apparently, and we're going to learn some more about one little piece of Obamacare. So those are two big cases, and there are a lot of really intriguing sort of regular constitutional law cases as well. The court, as I think most people know, is pretty evenly split on a lot of the close, difficult cases, so it's 5-4 one way or the other. The guessing is, among most people, that on the Obamacare, they're not going to throw a huge monkey wrench into the whole scheme.
It would be too destructive.
That's one of the reasons, right? And also, it's very hard to say that it's really what Congress intended, so it's taking language really out of context to go the way the challengers are asking, but you never know. And on same-sex marriage, I think they're pretty much already shown their hand or the path they're going to take. Question being, is it a constitutional right that applies to the states? The previous case, the Windsor case, was about federal and striking down DOMA, as it was called. But Justice Kennedy clearly tries to write for the ages, and he is the swing vote probably in this case. And he has written for the ages in terms of the rights of homosexuals and so on. So it is likely, and in the federal case in Windsor. So it's likely that he will go with so-called liberals and say that it does apply to the states.
Yeah, so
That
that
there is a
makes
constitutional
it
right to
consistency
same-sex
now
marriage. Yeah.
between the federal and state. I just wonder what happened, just hypothetically, not to wish this. Suppose they went the other way. What kind of incredible landscape would we have then?
Well, we've had that for a while until
yeah.
Windsor. There's a case that I found intriguing out of Rhode Island where Massachusetts had same-sex marriage, Rhode Island didn't. A couple moved to Rhode Island, they wanted to get a divorce. But Rhode Island said, we can't give you a divorce.
You're not married.
You're not married. Right. So.
Well, there's that kind of anomaly that probably a factor in the decision here. I mean, if you want a mess, you're going to have a mess, but it's not a good idea.
Right.
What else?
Well, we have a very active state Supreme Court, and they've been deciding some important things, and I think impressively so. The people may not know that the state courts are entitled to go further in protecting rights than the federal Constitution as interpreted by the U.S. Supreme Court. And so our court has begun to take that very seriously. I don't mean it just happened, but they are sort of stepping out and saying, well, maybe the Fourth Amendment doesn't protect this kind of privacy from a search or seizure or something, but we think the Hawaii Constitution does. We have privacy written as a word in our Constitution, whereas the federal Constitution doesn't. And so the court is, I think, taking some interesting steps. They're doing some wonderful things in terms of bringing the court out into the community, and that is really unusual. So they're going to the high schools, and our students help prepare the high school students a real argument that the students get to watch, and they say, oh yeah, that's the question, as they mood it themselves as they practice. Oh yeah, that's the question I asked or I was asked. And it's a moving thing to be there. It's a chicken skin moment.
Yeah, it is. I agree with you. He sat here, Judge
Rechtenwald.
and Judge Browning sat there, and Judge Alm sat there, and they talked about their respective programs, family court and criminal court. And it's a new time. Under Rechtenwald, I would say, he's doing the kind of thing that was so remarkable when he was first appointed to DCCA. He remade DCCA virtually overnight.
Yeah.
And he did it, quietly, very effectively, never missed a beat. And he's doing the same thing now.
And he does it very collaboratively.
Yes, he does.
When we had Justice Sotomayor here as Justice in Residence, she had brunch or lunch with the court and said to them afterwards that she didn't know of any court that was as collaborative and cohesive as our Supreme Court. Now, there's been a little change in the personnel, but I think that's Chief Justice Rechtenwald's doing. But he needs his fellow justices to go along.
And he's able to get them to go along.
Any one of them could actually slow it down or stop it. So it's really a collaborative effort, and it's very impressive.
Yeah.
Recently, Dale Lee in our law school organized a tour of the judiciary for our law students, and several of the justices invited the students to come and just walk through their chambers, sit down, and talk story with the justices. And our students were just wide-eyed at the experience. I'm sitting here on Justice Rechtenwald's couch, just talking to him about his kids or whatever, and it was just a great experience to show a different side of all these people, in the high court to our law students, and really made an impression on the group.
He's great.
You asked what's new at the law school, and this isn't entirely new, but it's sort of a reflection of the same spirit. Some of our students, neither for credit nor for pay, started a project at the Juvenile Detention Center. And they're bringing street law, as it's called, the sort of practical law that is of interest to
that's what practical
juveniles.
law, okay.
Right. And so it's to the credit of the folks in charge that they let them in, and to the credit of our students that they voluntarily go and they talk with these kids and young people. They're not all kids, I guess. It's really education for the community, I think, is a theme that the Supreme Court stands for, and so does our school.
Well, a couple of days ago, in fact, how about yesterday, we had the Historical Center here, the Judiciary Historical Center, from the ground floor there of the Judiciary. It used to be courthouses, with, circuit court trials and all that.
Right.
But now it's the Judiciary
Museum,
Center. It's
right.
really wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
There's two fellows who run it, and they got the Friends of the History Center. And, they go on and on. And when I asked him to describe the background, and at the end when he was finished, and I said, and the rest is all history.
Well, I thought you were going to refer to the fact that yesterday was my birthday and that I'm history.
Gosh, I
I'm
knew
old,
that.
but,
Everybody knew that. I don't know why I didn't say anything. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Say happy birthday.
Happy birthday. We sang to him yesterday. Yeah.
We had a very nice surprise party, and Spencer is our unofficial photographer, and he assembled.
I know that.
I plastered his wall.
Pictures of me in different hats and different costumes. It was very nice.
Gosh, that must have been something, But the law school, is in the right moment, isn't it, vis-a-vis the court system. I mean, it's like the court system and the law school in harmony. You've been building on this for a long time.
Well,
and now you find that...
It goes back to our founding, of course, and Chief Justice Richardson had to fight for a law school, and of course there were connections through him in particular, and his wonderful personality, but there have been connections all along. But right now, I think we are in a very good place. But the other side of that is the global piece.
We're not going to get to that until after the break.
Oh, okay.
Before the break,
You'd be
however,
surprised, Jay. The global.
The global. We know global. Before that, I wanted to offer Spencer an opportunity to cross-examine, or if he feels it appropriate, to rebut on your report, Dean. Notice the moment of silence here.
Let's see, I value my job, so I'm just going to say no comment.
But there's a segue to global, and that's where I was going, not where you thought, because Spencer is a wonderful tour guide and mentor to visiting students. We do a lot of that, and he just sent off another batch of 50-some students from Japan.
Yes, we had a bunch of students from 3 universities, Aichi Gakuin University in Tokyo, Meiji University, and the University of the Ryukyus, which is in Okinawa. And this is the 12th year of our program. And speaking of Justice Rechtenwald of the Supreme Court, they were very gracious in sort of giving us a little tour of the courtroom, and we actually visited that Judicial History Museum downstairs. So it was kind of like edu-tourism. We're just taking this group around to visit the courts. We visited Judge Oki Malway in the federal court, Judge Chang in the state circuit court.
That's great.
And Justice McKenna, of course, spoke to the group in Japanese, which was really incredible for them to witness. And then we took a tour of the Goodstill Anderson Quinn Stifel law firm. And the highlight was visiting the Women's Community Correctional Center out in Kailua. And just to give them a real-life view of what the inside of a detention
Talk
center
about
looks
practical,
like.
yeah.
Exactly. And, they really gained a lot out of that experience. I got evaluations afterwards, and for many of them, that they've never even been in a Japanese prison before, and to see for their own eyes the type of rehabilitative programs that they have going on there for the inmates, it was really an eye-opening experience for them, and something I'm sure they wrote home about.
It's great to be, to be involved in a process like that, because a lot of these judges and lawyers in Asia just have no contact with it, don't really understand it. One of our directors, Shackley Raffetto, He used to be the chief judge of the Second Circuit. He goes to Mongolia on a regular basis, and he teaches them about jury trials, which he's really good at.
Right.
And then he brings them here, and they go look at the courts. They meet the judges. They see the process. It's really a valuable role that we can play.
Right.
Although it goes both ways. Jumping ahead till after the break, when we were in India, we went to the environmental court, and they are ahead of us. They have one. They have one. We are going to have one as of the summer.
Good.
And their environmental court has a lot of authority, a lot of power, and considerable jurisdiction. So I don't know that we're going to go exactly in that direction, but it was really interesting to see the way that people argue. And the whole courtroom is green, by the way.
Perfect. Perfect. See, we can learn too.
That's right.
Okay, we can take a short break. That's Dean Avi Soifer. He's the Dean of the William S. Richardson School of Law. Spencer Kimura, he's the Director of the International LLM program and other programs, other international programs at the law school. We're talking life in the law today. We're talking about visiting a global law school. We didn't get to that, but in a minute we will. Be right back, you'll see. We'll be right here. Watch that.
Inspired by an ancient culture, classical Chinese dance, vigorous physicality, timeless stories, 5,000 years of Chinese music and dance. Shen Yun presents authentic Chinese culture. Coming to Blaisdell Concert Hall, May 8th and 9th. Tickets at shenyun.com or call 808-792-3919.
Hi, I'm your host on ThinkTech Asia, Bill Sharp. I look forward to you joining us each Monday between 4 and 5 o'clock when we film right here in our studio in downtown Honolulu. The show, ThinkTech Asia, focuses on contemporary events in Asia. And by Asia, we mean anything from Hawaii, south to Australia and New Zealand, west to Pakistan, and as far north as the Russian Far East. Clearly, this is one of the most economically dynamic centers of the world, and we bring you up to date on what's going on in a whole host of countries in this very vital region. We look forward to seeing you. Aloha.
Okay, we're back. We're live. We're here on. It's not ThinkTech Law. What is it? It's not Life in the Law. It's ThinkTech Global. You knew that. I know everyone knew that. The name of the program is ThinkTech Global. We've been reminded. With Avi Soifer, the Dean of the William S. Richardson School of Law, and Spencer Kimura, Director of International LLM and other international programs at the law school. We're going to get to our title, report right now. We're talking about visiting a global law school, which Dean Soifer did only a few days ago, last week.
Right.
Okay. What happened?
It was great. So there is in India a new law school, a new university, which has the law school as its center, called Jindal Global University.
Jindal.
Exactly so. And Mr. Jindal is a billionaire, and he was convinced by a very energetic and smart and entrepreneurial guy whose name is Raj Kumar that India didn't have a world-class university that would be recognized in all the world. They may have world-class universities, but they're not known for it. And Professor and Dean Kumar himself is an Oxford and Harvard and Hong Kong graduate, lots of degrees. And he convinced this person that with enough money they could very quickly build, and they built very impressively, faculty housing and student housing, as well as the law school and the rest of the multidisciplinary university, that they could attract some real global professors from all over the world, and sort of underneath that have a whole bunch of young and dynamic and very impressive faculty. And it has taken off. They're ranked very highly within India. They're the #1 private school and so on and so forth, and way up in the law school rankings. And this is within 5 years. To just get a building built that quickly is pretty amazing. I can tell you that from local experience. And it's a very lively place, and the students are very polite, but they're also willing to ask challenging questions. So they even have cricket pitches and soccer fields and so on. So it's about an hour's drive, more or less, outside of the heart of Delhi. And it really is a global law school. And partnering with us and with many others is part of this vision. And so we signed a memorandum of understanding, and we're going to have student exchanges and faculty exchanges and study tours and so on. So we'll put Spencer to further work with students from India.
Work is cut out.
Right, and it's big, in terms of our very small law school.
How many students?
1,700 or so, but they have 140 faculty. They have very good faculty-student ratio, actually.
So, I mean, but it's global, okay? How can a law school be global like that?
How can a law school not be global these days?
Ah, thank you for that. Thank you. Absolute touche, absolutely.
Well, so of course law schools are very different in different parts of the world, but more and more of what we do, what lawyers do, and what certainly people in law school and legal academia do, is to recognize that there are other worlds out there and that there are many different ways to do things. So part of it is just to learn wisdom from a comparative perspective, that the way we do it is not the only way to do it. And there may be some disadvantages as well as advantages to the way we do it. So we've been quite parochial in Anglo-American law for a long time. That's changed a lot, not only in Hawaii, but for American law schools. But in Hawaii and at our law school, we have made the pivot to Asia already. And our faculty offer more courses probably than any other law school, though we're much smaller than most, in terms of the law of Korea or the law of the Philippines, as well as comparative courses. And we're very strong in international law. And international law is not just international human rights, which is very important, and which the late John Van Dyke was actually a pioneer in developing, but international commercial law and arbitration and those kinds of things. So that's one of our great strengths, and I don't think we're adequately appreciated for it in the rest of legal education, but that's changing, some of those rankings that I was talking about before.
Well, in the existing context, it sounds to me like if you have an exchange of teachers and students between Hawaii and all places in Asia, you're going to have the greater possibility of a true international law graduate who can go and practice in international law. So what's that career pattern like? Let's assume, I do the crossover and I visit and I do exchange programs and they come here and they teach me things about the way they think, and I am now graduated as an international lawyer. What's the career track on that?
For you, right to the top, Jay, because you have the temerity, the chutzpah, dare I say it. Well, so there are, of course, international law firms, and some of our students go to them. It would actually probably be to our advantage if more of our students went. And our students are culturally fluent, and many of them linguistically fluent, and therefore in demand in Beijing and Tokyo and so on. But those big law firms are not necessarily pleasant places to work. That gets back to the civilized practice of law here. But we have experts on war crimes tribunals, for example, on our faculty. And so our students are getting placements as monitors for the Cambodian war crimes trial.
Oh, really?
They're trying to have an African one started this summer, and we have a student who she is likely to go to be there when it starts. And so we are finding these placements through our faculty and through their connections all over the world. The other thing, Jindal, for example, you get faculty who have all sorts of mixed backgrounds. So they have the former Icelandic ambassador to South Africa on their faculty.
Of course.
and a Bulgarian who has done a lot of things for the UN and so on. So we have that kind of faculty expertise and diversity too. So we think we really will fit very well with them.
Yeah, this is great. This is all kinds of prospect. It takes us, university, to a new level. And because lawyers are influential, it teaches us things. It teaches us things maybe in the legislature. It teaches us things
now you go too far. No, I think
environmental courts, for example.
I think that's right. Yeah, you can pick up things from all sorts of different sources and weigh them for yourself as to whether they make sense or not.
Okay.
It's not to imitate; it's just to pick up a nuance.
Sure, a new thought that you didn't have before. Yeah. So this is also important for the law school too. It's a matter of having the prestige, the students, the knowledge that comes from these kinds of exchanges.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we've already been doing is to recognize that our law is different, thanks to Jay Richardson and his court primarily, but certainly it's been followed, so that indigenous law, Hawaiian law, is part of our common law. Now that's really unusual, in fact unique in the United States, and it's very important to people from all over the world where there are indigenous cultures and where they have colonial experience, and hey, here's a place that is actually using Anglo-American law, but also using native law and culture.
So unique that way.
Yeah, but of great interest around the world, to the Maori and to the Aborigines and to the Native Americans and so on and so forth. But there are minorities like that all over the world.
This is covered in the historic Judiciary Center in the Supreme Court building.
I was
Right.
on the board of that organization.
Oh, sorry.
So, yes, I vaguely remember that. No, they do a very good job there.
Now,
There's no question.
Spencer, we're going to get to Spencer, in some detail here. Now, Spencer is involved in the international law program, so he's got to be up to his eyes in preparing for this, in making the connections.
Right. Well, we have, a lot of international programs going on for a lot of different types of people, not just students. We also welcome faculty from other institutions, mostly in China, Japan, and Korea, but, we do get inquiries from all over the world. And so we have not only the LLM program, of which I'm a director, which is the master's degree program, but we just started an advanced JD program as well this year. And this is also for people who have already gone through their legal training in their home country, but want to learn about American law and pursue a JD here. As Avi said earlier, we do have these short-term training type programs. I mentioned the one from Japan. We also train a contingent of Thai judges who come to Hawaii every other year, about 40 of them, and they come here for specific topics such as alternative dispute resolution or negotiation or mediation. And so Professor Barkey usually handles that group. And we have semester exchanges that we've set up too with Bucerius Law School in Hamburg, which is the top private law school in Germany. And we also have a type of 2-and-2 exchange with the University of British Columbia in Canada, where a student could earn a Canadian degree as well as our degree in a total of 4 years.
The university deals with, on science, international contacts and collaborations all day long, but somehow, when you're talking about law, it's different. Why? Because, again, the political influence. And it seems to me there's also a kind of a diplomatic influence. If a country, for example, has unfairness about the way it's being operated, lawyers could have an effect on that. And lawyers trained here in your school could go back there and have a positive effect. It's kind of a citizen diplomacy, or maybe a legal citizen diplomacy.
Right. Well, I think that's right, and Spencer doesn't take enough credit for the LLM program. So this is 12 years, and we thought when it started that it would be almost exclusively Asia. In fact, 120 roughly students in those 12 years. We keep it small because we're a small law school and we want to integrate them, and we learn from them, of course, as well as
You want your existing students to meet them,
But
Right.
50 different countries.
50.
50.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's really been amazing that way, and they're really literally from all over the world. Bhutan, we had someone from
Bhutan,
Bhutan.
those guys, I really like Bhutanese.
Senior
They're
attorney
fun.
for their foreign ministry from Bhutan.
That's great.
So I was asking her, well, if you're here, who's running the shop back home? And she said, don't worry, we've got people to handle that. So,
So
fascinating.
you stay in touch with them?
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
But
And our faculty go abroad a lot, so
To reconnect.
Alison Connor in particular,
Sure.
who is really the mother of the LLM program, is in Shanghai now. She's doing a study abroad program for undergraduates, but she travels, sees former students all the time.
Strikes me that if not already, then soon enough, this really enhances the career of a lawyer
Oh, yeah.
who wants
Right.
to get involved. This
Absolutely.
takes him to another level.
Right.
He's not down in the Carols, reading cases about some obscure issue. He's actually global himself.
Right, and to put it together with the practical skills I was talking about before, we have teams that compete in international moot court competitions as well as U.S., and we have 2 of them that have advanced to the final, so they will be competing against teams from all over the world in the Jessup International Law 1 and International Environmental Law moot court.
That's the one that Judge Shackley Ruffetto is involved in, Jessup. He's very
And
active.
Jessup
Oh,
is a
right.
very prestigious one.
So that's in English, I guess.
Yes.
Right.
And it's
Right.
American law.
No, it's
It's
international
international law.
And one of the professors at Jindal is taking a team there, and so we agreed it would be nice if we met in the World Championship.
Oh, yeah.
Which
That
is
would
taking
be-
place in just a few weeks in Washington.
So one more question, and then we'll have another break, and that is, Jindal is quite remarkable. You have to have a lot of money to do that, and you have to have a lot of political will and maybe a lot of political connections to build a university and a law school of some import that way in less than 5 years. Is this unique? Is this going to happen again somewhere else? Is this part of some sort of global change?
You asked those big questions.
Sorry.
I don't think it will be unique, but it's hard to predict. I must say, as unique as it is and as global as we've been discussing, a lot of it, of course, has to do with person-to-person relationships. And we know about Jindal and vice versa really through Mike Wilson, through Justice Mike Wilson.
Oh, he went on the trip.
He had been there before. He and Raj, the dean, like each other. He entertained Raj and his family here. And so, you know, it takes one person really to make the connection and then say, hey, this could all work for everybody. And I think it really will.
So, if things work out.
I thought there was one more question. Go ahead.
Well, no, but it's a follow-up question to the answer of the one last question, right? Fair is fair, right? And by the way, you can ask questions anytime.
All right.
I forgot.
That was my technique. Right. It's time for a break, Jay.
So, no, you made a great connection with Jindal. Thanks to Mike Wilson and all the other skills involved and the right time and place. But would you, is it possible? Is it something you contemplate to do this yet again?
Sure.
Why stop at India? Why stop at Jindal?
Right.
Well, and one of the theme, it was a symposium, it wasn't just a visit. And so we talked about rule of law and access to justice. But the core of this discussion was about sustainability, a huge issue there, as it is here. And Associate Dean Antolini starred, as she always does. And as you start going to these other countries, you realize how serious their problems are with pollution and so on, and how much there is to talk about. And of course, those are really, with climate change, global problems. So we have a very strong environmental law program, and we are, I think, much in demand
She
for
runs
that
it.
reason. Yeah.
That's great. So when you go there, then you know, you find a common denominator of interest. You find resonance at a very fundamental level, which I imagine that really lasts a long time. You're thinking the same thoughts about the same problems.
And actually, David Foreman is running it now that I convinced and twisted the arm of Denise to be Associate Dean. But we have a number of other environmental law people. Shalonda Baker is one of our new hires.
We met her at this table.
And Malia Kudagat. So we really, Kapua Sprott. So environmental is really one of our calling cards.
That's great. Well, we're at the break time. We thank you so much for coming down. We know you have another meeting to go to. We are very sad.
You don't look very sad, but you're in good hands with Spencer. Thank you, Jay. Always good to
Thank
see
you, Ami. Spencer, in a minute, we're going to be alone.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can really tell the truth.
Thank you, Ami.
All right, thanks.
Aloha, I'm Kili'i Akina, president of the Grassroot Institute and host on Ehana Kako, a weekly program on the ThinkTech Hawaii broadcast network. Ehana Kako means let's work together. Think of the sad alternative, let's not work together. Here in Hawaii, with all of our diversity and the richness of the people, it's important for us to come together around issues on the basis of what's right and what's good and what's going to serve the common good. And that's what we try to do at Ehana Kako. Every week, we interview movers and shakers, people in government, business, and other sectors of society to talk about how to create together a better government, economy, a better world here in Hawaii that can bless the rest of the world. I thank you for your attention to ThinkTech Hawaii, and we look forward to seeing you every Monday, 2 to 3 p.m. on the ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. We're Ehana Kako, and we wish you well. Aloha.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Andrew Howard. I'm an astronomer at the Institute for Astronomy at the University of Hawaii up in Manoa. I'd like to tell you about the annual open house that we're having. This year it is on April 6th, 11 to 4 p.m. It's an all ages event, kids, grown-ups, even people in between, everyone is welcome. We have a lot of really fun activities. You get to meet astronomers, look at yourself in an infrared camera, play with Legos, make robots, look at videos. You can even make some of the kids like to make comets out of gravel and snow. Even adults like to do that too. You'll be able to look at the sun with a solar camera safely. It's really a great activity. We do this every year in April, and I hope to see you this year. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Seymour Kazimirski. I have a show called Seymour's World on ThinkTech Hawaii. Our show is about opening minds and facilitating conversations. To tell you the truth, I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. I have no idea who our guests are going to be, but I guarantee you we're going to have lots and lots of fun. Aloha from Seymour's World.
Okay, we're back, we're live, we're here, alone at last. Spencer Kimura, he's the director of the International LLM program and other international programs at the William S. Richardson School of Law. So, you know, we talked to Avi, and now I'd like to focus on your program, Spencer.
Sure.
I'd like to talk about exactly how you do it, how you bring them in. And to preface that, I want to say that I guess it was like 2 years ago, I came out there with a camera,
Right.
and we made an OC16 show about your LLM class at the time.
Right.
And I was very, very impressed. They were all so sweet, so smart, so, so healthy, so nourishing as individuals and as lawyers. They came from everywhere, and they brought such good things with them. So, is it better now?
Yes, that energy that you're talking about is one reason why I just love this job, because I do deal with people from all over the world who want to further their education. They already might be practicing law, or they've gone through their legal training in their home country, but they want to learn about the way we do things here in the United States. So I believe that show we had someone from Singapore, from Switzerland, and someone from the
Philippines.
Chile, yeah.
Chile, China.
Right.
There's more.
Right.
It was
So-
about 6 or 7 or 8, something like that.
Right, and so in 1 year, they are immersed in our law school culture and our, classes, and somehow they survive, and they go back home to their home countries, and now they are the authority in whatever organization they're with on, the American legal system.
Well, I remember that you put them in the classes. They sit alongside
Right.
your regular domestic students. That is a fabulous experience for them.
Right.
They get to see exactly how it works. No holds barred, no barriers.
That's right. There's one class that they are required to take, which is the Introduction to American Law class. But other than that, we just give them free rein to pick whatever interests them. We have several specializations that they can take: business law, international law, criminal law, environmental law, ocean law, and human rights law. And but other than that, whatever really interests them, they're free to take. And of course, they are sitting in the class with American students and are treated just the same as we treat our own students.
It's a mitzvah. Because
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're exposing them to things that will change their lives.
Right.
The way they're seen in their countries, but also what they do when they get back to their country.
Right, and hopefully, our students are making a good impression on them, but it works both ways, and part of the strategy of bringing them to Hawaii is to expose our students on, hey, America is not all that there is to law. There are a lot of different ways of doing things, and just by having them meet our LLM students or our advanced JD students, they're exposed to all these different ways of, doing the law in different countries. So I think it benefits both sides.
And they want that. I remember one, it just came back to me. He was Iranian,
Right.
but he ran a law firm. He was a lawyer. He ran a law firm in, I want to think, Syria, maybe?
No, it was in Tehran, in Iran.
No, he left Tehran.
Oh, no, that's right. Yeah, that's right. He went
and he
to
was practicing, and he was in the aquaculture business.
Right.
Do you remember?
That was one of the things that he was involved in. Yeah. I
And
think
he
with
was
his brother.
quiet. He was quiet in the discussion until it was his turn, and then he started to talk, and he was so charming.
Right.
He was really an amazing guy.
Mujtaba,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's now in the D.C. area, actually.
Is that right?
Yeah. Mhm. So,
Well, and you stay in touch with these people. It means you have a network that's global.
Right, certainly. And, 1 year, it might seem like a long time for some people, but I always tell them it's going to go in a blink of an eye, and it's so true. So we do try to stay in touch with them after they leave and see how they're doing. One woman from Algeria last year graduated, actually 2 years ago. She just, nowadays with social media, it's so easy to kind of stay in contact. So I just heard on LinkedIn that she's a senior attorney for GE in Africa. So I was like, wow, that's amazing.
You're a graduate.
Right.
Well, I mean, when you joined the law school, which was about, what, 56 years ago or something?
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Right.
You had no idea it was going to go this way, huh?
I had, well, you know, I had my thoughts. You know, I thought that's when we just started the LLM program. Professor Allison Connor had the vision to start actively promote international programs. We started with 4 students in the LLM, and I had come back from the mainland, and we really and with Dean Soifer's support, we really tried to grow the program, to grow not just that program, but other programs, to form like a international center at our law school. And you know, you'd be surprised how many people want to come to Hawaii or have heard about Hawaii, and if we give them the opportunity, they'll take it, and they'll come to our law school. And you know, it's not just fun in the sun. They're going to learn about American law. They'll learn about our local Hawaii law as well, and see that even in America, there are various ways of, you know, of using the law. And you know, so it really does benefit. They get to see a multidimensional experience, and the diversity of our law school as well, being the most diverse law school in the United States. Many of them are pretty shocked to see the people in Hawaii. You know, they're expecting, when they see the movies about the United States, how different it is here in Hawaii. And that in itself, I think, is an education that we can export to the world.
Yeah, we're a great place for that. We're a great entry point.
Right.
It's easy to take. I just wonder if you ever run into things where they have trouble integrating. They have trouble accepting what we do, that they might think, you know, it's not the best way. I might, you know, say the political process of making sausage, for example.
Right.
And they are like, what?
Right.
Do you ever get that?
Yes, I do. We do get a lot of questions about, you know, why do you do that? Why do you, you know, you know, a lot of times the answer is, well, that's just how we've always done it. And you know, people can relate to that. I mean, you know, every country, every society has their quirks and, you know, things that have just been carried over the ages. And that's one of the beauties of it, because they are already educated in their legal system when they come here. So they're not like, you know, fresh undergraduates or something. They already know how the law operates in their country. So when they come here, they have that foil from which to work and say, wait a minute, you know, why do we do things this way? You know, why this federalism system, and why would you want to do that? You know, it's so complicated. And which is, you know, to that degree, they learn so much more from that experience.
And you learn more.
We do too.
You know,
when they question, we have to research to say, well, actually,
maybe he's right.
Yeah, we don't know why they do that. But for example, we had a visiting scholar from Korea. In fact, they are working on the jury project in Korea. And so they're studying
What is the jury
juries.
trial? What is it? Is that to show people how a jury trial works?
Well, they're actually thinking about incorporating a jury system in Korea as well. So they're sort of studying how we do things here, and they do, you know, exit polls of jurors and things like that. And you know, they come up with their own format which will fit their society. We've always, you know, have 12 jurors here. That's just the common understanding in the United States, but they're thinking, well, maybe we don't need 12. You know, they study group dynamics and you know, things like that, and they come up with different systems, and so they have the benefit of seeing how we do it, and then take the good parts back to their home country and suggest that to their government, which is really exciting to see.
And then the word gets around.
Right.
The word gets around through the lawyers practicing, or the law community that is growing in a given country. I mean, China's a perfect example of a growing law community.
Right.
And the lawyers feel their oaths maybe a little, and they talk to the government, and they say, maybe we should have jury trials
Right.
and the like. And then you know, it's an appetite.
Mm-hmm.
And then they look east, and they see you guys.
Right.
And they see a great option because it's easy to take.
And I got to say that not just for our law school, but for our legal community in Hawaii as a whole, we have the benefit of being the only law school in Hawaii and having this close relationship with people downtown, with the judiciary, with the legislature, that we're able to have these connections. And whether it be, you know, going over to talk with Chief Justice Reckenwald, or you know, observing a trial in a court, or even visiting the state capitol, we have the luxury of you know, of having a lot of our graduates everywhere, and everybody knows us, so we can bring our international students and show them exactly what's going on. Whereas if you're in another jurisdiction, you're just one of 20 law schools. So, the Chief Justice is not going to spend time talking to you like that. So we really, and I think a lot of it is the culture of our legal community here, of the bar, where people are so willing to come and donate their time, and talk to students and really. Yeah, it's amazing, and that's one of the really satisfactory. The students are really amazed. Like, really, they're just going to talk to us and spend all this time, with a lawyer from XYZ law firm or a judge, and I think that's part of the Aloha spirit that they really get to experience while they're here. So that's one of the luxuries or the great pleasantries of working at the law school.
You must love your job.
I do. I certainly do, Jay.
It shows. So one more thing, and then we have to close, and that is, I've been involved in the Downtown Lawyers Exchange Program with the Shanghai lawyers, which was a few small private firms at the beginning, but now the Bar Association of Shanghai is directly involved, and it's a government thing, which is really terrific.
Right.
And so what happens is they send lawyers over, and we have 2, 3, maybe more per annum, and they come and they work embedded in a law firm downtown. What's missing from that is us sending them lawyers. So far, that really hasn't happened. Where a lawyer from Hawaii, maybe a young lawyer, you could go over there, work in a law firm and really have the same experience that you are describing, same thing, except in reverse. So we have to do that. And query, what Avi set up in Jindal, what you're looking to set up now, is it go there? Is it there yet? When is it going to happen?
Well, Jindal, although things happen very quickly at that law school, we are in the preliminary stages of coming up with a memorandum of agreement, and so it will take a little time to set up. But then again, sending students is and that's what we do. But sending members of the bar, attorneys, there's a lot of different complications, with law firms. How are they going to be paid while they're there, and this and that.
It's a problem.
I don't know the longest time that someone could be away from their office that a law firm could afford to send someone out there. But as far as students go, I think being able to, of course, India is so far away, it would be a huge commitment, but I do think, at least for a semester, we could have students going there and really, and the beauty of that law school is it's not just our law school. They've got like 90 or a lot of different law schools from around the world with students there. So by going there, our students could meet people from all over the world, and not just people from India.
Global networking.
So
that's business.
Exactly. So I think for that type of program, it's certainly possible. For lawyers going overseas, it really would depend on the firm and their ability to see what the return on their investment would be.
Going to have an Indian law professor soon?
Perhaps, yeah, maybe. That's, I'm sure Jindal would be happy to send some of their faculty over to visit us. And like we do already have, Japanese, Korean, and Chinese visiting scholars.
Bring them down here, Spencer.
Yeah, certainly
We'll
will.
talk to 'em.
They got to come here. That's right. One of the highlights.
It's like going to watch a jury trial.
Exactly.
That's Spencer Kimura. He's the Director of International LLM and other programs, AJD programs, SJD programs,
That's right.
and the like at William S. Richardson School of Law. Now, if you hadn't noticed, this is ThinkTech Global, and we're talking about visiting a global law school in India, but also developing our own connection, our own identity as a global law school. That is what we are. Thank you so much, Spencer.
Thank you, Jay. Enjoyed it.